Thousands of love quick pass author, Geluxing copy, blackening system. You are very beautiful. Awesome. You are a jerk. You'll attract anyone madly in love with you until you're possessed, imprisoned, dismembered, refrigerated to satisfy them. You will not die, you will be infinitely resurrected. Chao Deng was forced to bind the system after an accident, and collected personality fragments in various worlds as required. He successively attacked characters with various personalities such as indifference, frivolity, domineering, suspicious, arrogant, etc. In the end, Chao Deng realized that he was facing the same person from beginning to end. You were born to be loved. 1v1, he, Su 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 Shuang Shuang Shuang, after being attacked by Su Su. Content label, System Fast Pass Modern Overhead Search Keywords, Protagonist, Chao Deng, Caesar Supporting Role, Others, Xinjiang Gold Medal Editors Comments, the Chao Deng, who should have died in an accident, was forced to bind the system, and he was required to capture personality fragments in various worlds. Because of this, Chao Deng had to do everything he could to complete the task. He successively attacked characters with various personalities, such as indifference, frivolity, domineering, suspicious, arrogant, etc. Until the end, Chao Deng did not know that he faced all kinds of characters from beginning to end. It's the same person, and the other party has always been by his side. The writing of this article is smooth and the plot is tightly connected. It takes the personal fragments of each encounter as the main line and takes readers through various worlds. The author's writing skills are excellent, and a few strokes can outline a fascinating picture, and the description is gorgeous and just right. The suspense left in the text is gripping, making readers involuntarily guess the development of the following. The interaction between the protagonist and the system is also very humorous and interesting. Volume 1, The Velvet Road. The early cherry blossoms in early April show the pink of Yongxingzi under the dome. The girls' school uniform skirts are drawn in soft arcs in the air. The morning reading bell has passed. The teacher on duty he lowered his head to write the lesson plan, and the huge classroom was silent until a knock on the door broke the long silence. Report. According to the voice, a boy of 16 or 17 years old came in. The teacher's displeased eyes immediately turned into indescribable love after seeing him, and he let him go in and sit after a few words. Down. The classmates formed a sharp contrast, tugged lightly towards the lamp, pulled out the chair and sat down in the middle of the classroom. Today's male gods are also super indifferent. The sight of the lamp once again turned to the person who was doing the math. The other person was white and black, and his pupils were like a pool of deep water. The fingers protruding from the cuffs of the school uniform were slender and powerful, accompanied by the movement of writing. Under the skin on the back of the hand, the distinctive dark-colored blood vessels that are unique to boys are raised. Although I knew that Chu Chiu was a great beauty, no matter how many times I watched it, Chao Deng still liked his appearance. It really makes me very happy to have such a person as a target. Fuck. He smiled at the classmates in the front row of the ladder, and bent his eyes towards the lamp. You know. Understanding, harassing Chu Swiba again, the class is sitting. One sentence not only shows the extraordinary status of Chao Deng in the class, but also shows that his obsession with Chu Chiu has reached a terrible level that everyone knows. Can you talk about this question? I've been thinking about it for a long time and can't understand the physical situation. Chu Chiu didn't say good or bad. Chao Deng habitually pushed the teaching assistant in front of him cheeky, and the question he asked was a 5-point star. Chu Chiu raised his eyes. After a few minutes, he said, "You don't need to do this question." His voice is very nice, and in the deep it brings out the clear meaning that is unique to young people. He looks at the lamp while getting his senses back, inexplicably. Why not? Waste time. I will you. Rejecting on the grounds of life still cannot hide the fact that he is as cold as a robot. Any questions? Yes. How long are you going to have fun with me? It's a pity I can't tell the truth. The boy opposite Chu Chiu raised a big smile. There are 3 things we said today. Have fun. Come on, you must be pure at this time. Feeling the jealous gazes of some people, Chu Chiu frowned and didn't answer. Zhao Deng kept smiling, tisk 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 in her heart, took the assistant back to his seat. As soon as he sat down, everyone around him rushed over. Which question of Chao Deng can't be done? If you don't know what to ask me, I will tell you carefully. The head murmured to himself in a low voice, I really want. Love is worth 5 stars. Hate is worth 2 stars. Zhao Deng looked at the girl who was smiling again with complicated eyes. Her eyes were gentle and soft. If you can't get it, just destroy it. Break it into pieces and put it in a box beautiful enough to match you, even if it's just a corpse, you belong to me. He was very excited. So cool and exciting. Not long ago, Chao Deng suffered an accident. When he was on the verge of death and his consciousness was chaotic, a strange voice told him that he could get a second life. In exchange, Chao Deng must go to various worlds to collect personality fragments. Those powerful fragments have evolved into humanoids, have their own thinking and unreasonable learning ability. The method of collecting fragments is also unusual. The system said that he wanted the fragments to have 5 stars for their love and hatred, so that the emotional ups and downs of the personality reached their peak. The original owner of the personality fragments is a male, so the system chose Chao Deng, a guy, and because the original owner's nature is self-indifference, Chao Deng has been endowed by the system with abnormal characteristics of attracting others. Try to increase it as much as possible. Fragments initial favorability for him. You are very beautiful. Awesome. You are a jerk. You'll attract anyone madly in love with you until you're possessed, imprisoned, dismembered, refrigerated to satisfy them. You will not die, you will be infinitely resurrected. Different from others, after the system is transformed, in order to prevent him from having a psychological shadow on various unexpected events and thus unable to complete the task, when he is maliciously hurt by others, he will not feel pain, but will only experience vague delight. The stronger the malice, the stronger the pleasure. Ordinary people hurt him positively and negatively, and he basically has no feeling. 10 times. 10 times. Being beaten up is heaven. So if there is something wrong with Chao Deng, he imagines that Chu Chiu will touch him with strong malice in his heart. For this goal, he yearns for the 5-star hatred more than the 5-star of love. System, how many stars does the male have for Chao Deng? The way the system calculates the emotions of the characters is extremely rough. According to the stars, the more stars, the deeper the emotions. There are 2 emotions, love and hate. Chu Chiu's feelings for him half love, no hatred. It is still very little. He is like a piece of code, precise, ruthless, and flawless. Zhao Deng's goal is to conquer this code. The only system that occupies the auxiliary position can only calculate the favorability degree roughly, and it is super cold. If you can't open your mouth and never make a sound, thinking about it makes life worse than death. I chased him that long? He doesn't know. Do I play cute to him every day? Useless. Day, I quit. Then die. Please, brother Chu Chiu, come and spoil me, love me, and dismember me. The sun is falling, the clear and sweet late spring echoes the scuffles and noises of the teenagers. Chu Chi is famous for dribbling the ball well on the court, walking in the clouds and water. With a wave of his long arm, the basketball jumps steadily the round frame. The time has come, everyone stopped. The board showed that Chu Chiu and his party won the last game with a 75-32 score difference. The whole stadium was full of applause, and the girls looked at the center of the field with admiration. Teenager. He is playing a small forward who needs agility and energy, but this is the most fancy and beautiful position in the audience. His vision inadvertently crosses the field, and a deep meaning flashes in Chu Chiu's eyes. Ha, Chao Deng is accepting confession again. The boy who played the guard leaned over and handed it to Chu Chiu mineral water. Following his line of sight, he saw a smiling face rejecting the girl's headlight not far from the court. The scourge, the boy smacked his lips, don't laugh like that when you reject people, this kind of rejection will only make her deeper and deeper. Why do you say that? Chu Chiu's jet-black pupils said quietly, are you gay? The guard spat out a mouthful of water, don't make such a joke, Master Chu. He finally relieved his breath, seeing that Chu Chiu shrugged his shoulders indifferently, and couldn't help but continue, but if you look at the lamp, you can really think about it, I don't know why, seeing his at first sight, I really wanted to hide him. Chu Chiu, do you need water? Would you like to take a shower? Can Chiu take pictures together? He bowed his head slightly, and walked past the crowd, ignoring anyone. The spring breeze that permeated the subtle chill came towards him, and the scent of cherry blossoms mixed into it. The girls watched him walk away in disappointment, and then they felt like this kind of handsome boy, with a powerful family and abnormally good grades, is quite normal to be indifferent. Since the establishment of the 7th middle school, the faculty of this class is the best. The above specially instructed to take care of this character who came from the imperial city. The princelings among the princelings, not to mention the common people, not many high-ranking officials and nobles can afford it, looked at the lamp and looked at him, raised a smile, hey, the ball is very good. Even the lukewarm reply made the eyes of the person on the opposite side light up, and the smile could not be stopped. Think about it, are you going to the locker? Together. Now that school is over, I still go to school. Of course, I can only go to the locker to get something. Unsurprisingly, the male did not respond. It's nothing if you don't talk, you'll be fine. You play so well, have you been practicing for a long time? No. What about learning? Just learning. Seeing that he didn't respond, Chao Deng was very accustomed to not getting discouraged. He turned around to face Chu Chiu, his lips curved in a faint arc and said, it's amazing, go Fugui, don't forget. Act, no, go, go, go. In my imagination, I should be a heartthrob who can live by pretending to be cute, but now I have to hit the Oscar statuette. Fortunately, the locker is not far from the stadium, just a few steps away, otherwise no matter how tenacious it is, it will always be very sad to face the walking ice, no matter how handsome and beautiful it looks. Chao Deng and Chu Chiu's storage compartment are close, parallel to the left and right, separated by a space in the middle, raise his hand to open the metal lattice door, and with a small sound, the love letter leaked out can almost knock him out. Submerged. It was a human head. Head towards the lamp. Fuck. He originally had an unusual appearance, which was why the system found him. After being endowed with the trait of madly attracting others, the face of Chao Deng failed to develop in a righteous and sane direction, instead it became more and more the ghosts are gorgeous, and when the expressions on their faces change, they are tight, and even if they don't have those characteristics, they may not be able to live a normal life. Open. You go first, he suppressed his voice, sorry for letting you see this. Chu Chiu closed his cabinet without saying a word. Shit? This one? Oh. The letter that Chu Chiu handed over was no different from ordinary love letters in appearance, but there was a dry, dark red drop in the lower right corner. It was intentional, or it may have been accidental, the other party smeared blood on the head and did not treat the wound. You mean, someone actually painted this with their own blood? Think about whether you've been messing with anyone lately. The guy being questioned burst into a confident smile and said, I'm provoking people every day. Chu Chiu was choked, raised his eyes to signal him to open the letter, tore the edge of the letter sharply at the lamp, and took out a letterhead with black characters on a white background. Identity was discovered. Your father, SB. This kind of curious love between humans and rubber heads will not be blessed. He stood up holding the head, the dark red part of it had formed blood scabs, and joked at the lamp, if I throw this in the trash, will people pass by and think I'm dead? Maybe. Chu Chiu returned to his cold and indifferent appearance, and threw the head into the trash can with a smile at the lamp, then let whoever treat me dead. He seemed to be indifferent to this strong love, but his eyes were very clear, as if he had given all his attention to himself in his eyes. The hand towards the lamp bumped against the sharp corner of the locker when picking up the letter, and now it is completely invisible, but Chu Chiu can't forget the red marks on his hands. It really looks like white porcelain, with a red seal. The author has something to say: because you follow the Suishuang route, there will be people who are fascinated, a world of Sudan, blackened and imprisoned. Part of the setting is from Junji Ito's comic Tomi. Don't read this comic ___. Towards the lamp, I turned on the villa lighting, and the huge room was empty. According to the identities arranged by the system, Chao Deng's parents are abroad, and they are a pair of loving geologists. Today, Yellowstone in the United States and Blue Lake in Iceland tomorrow. At first, facing the lamp can also motivate myself to cook, and then I just let it go and my house is full of convenience food. Yes, people must learn to live rough. From the time he made dinner and sat in front of the computer until he finished his homework, the room remained silent. Many times, the system was very quiet. Cool shit. Good night. Toss the phone towards the light. Have a good dream. Good night. Are you sick? Smell. It is inexplicably refreshing to hear this kind of sound being scolded. Make sure you are not uninstalled. Of course there was no response from the other end. Chao Deng kept repeating in his mind that you are sick, you are sick, you are sick, and he fell asleep excitedly. When he was going to play ball, a group of people who handed in papers early were waiting for him by the door of examination room A. The scene was extremely spectacular. The bell rang, and the invigilator asked Chao Deng to help him collect the papers. Gently ask, how was the test? Okay. You didn't do the last two big questions, I'm afraid it's not good. Before he could answer the question, the invigilator slammed his wrist and staggered towards the lamp. The opponent's hand was as hard and stubborn as iron tongs, the test papers were scattered all over the place, and the eyes from there were full of desire and desire, obviously. Let the teacher touch it and give you a high score. Love is worth 4 stars for hatred I'm bored. Zhao Lan was expressionless and struggled even more fiercely, but the adult man was extraordinarily powerful when he went mad, and his eyes were bloodshot when he looked at him. However, he used so much strength that the soles of his feet hit the podium with a bang. Damn, it hurts. There was a trace of pain on the face of the lamp, and the person opposite immediately grabbed his ankle. Let me see if it hurts, let me see. The trousers were pushed up so hard that a pale calf was exposed. The skin of the tentacles was as delicate as jade. Looking at the scene inside, even if he expected it, he couldn't help frowning. It is unusual for only one student to collect the test paper. When the boy in the same room inadvertently said that the examination room seemed to have just locked the door, Chu Chiu, who noticed it was wrong, ran downstairs without much thought. On the 4th floor, he was a little out of breath, but it still didn't damage his unusual savage aura. When he saw Chu Chiu coming in, hesitation flashed on the man's face. All the teachers knew the identity of this young man, saying that his family could only cover the sky with their hands. However, when the man noticed Chao Deng's disgusting gaze, his thoughts so far collapsed, and he couldn't help showing an obsessed smile. It's beautiful. The flank was kicked violently, the man screamed and knelt on the ground. The handsome young man who came in casually hooked the chair, looked at the lamp and saw that Chu Chiu was unscrupulously smashing people with a sharp metal chair. Even if he knew that the other party was helping him, he couldn't help but feel terrified. The man's still gentle face was covered in blood in the blink of an eye. Because of the frequent exercise, Chu Chiu's strength was amazing, and he didn't care where he hit. It almost made people suspect that the other party was broken by him, and even though the movements of his hands were neat, the expression on his face was still light. Brother Tong said. My target was this monster. Afraid? Cool. Yu's fight is so fierce, Chao Deng he. I fell in love with him at first sight. The system ignores him. It doesn't matter, no matter how good the sound is, can fights be so handsome? Confirming that the man has no ability to fight back, Chu Chiu threw his chair and went to check his condition. His eyes fell on the calf that was rubbed red by the man. He hesitated for a moment and put his hand on it, said, "How are you?" "Well." The corner of Chao Deng's eyes flushed instantly as the pleasure flowing through the limbs and bones, and the unprecedented intense experience rose in the blood. Chu Chiu watched the expression on his face change, the strength in his hand increased a little. So cool, so cool, so cool. Hate is worth half a star. No one knew the dark color that grew in his heart at that moment. Over? Opened to the lamp regretfully, "It's okay. You seem to encounter these often. Speaking of this, I really want to feed a virus to the system. What kind of bird ability? Can't love it all." The other party was not interested in pursuing him when he saw that he did not speak. He thanked Chu Chiu, who nodded indifferently, and asked him to leave him first to go to the office. The urge, try to pretend to be the victim, and docilely agree. The class guide of Class B is not. Zhao Deng's gaze subconsciously shifted to Chu Chiu. The handsome young man had headphones in his ears, and the long black headphone cord was hidden from his hair and collar. It looks quiet and harmless. If he hadn't known what happened in the afternoon, he would never have thought that Chu Chiu did it. Seeing his surprised face at the same table, he came up and gushed, "It's all rumored, I didn't believe it when I heard it at dinner. Mr. Song did a good job in class, and has been teaching in number 7 middle school for 10 years. If you want to go, you should go to that foreign sect demon from Class B." It was Chu Chiu. After the incident, he went to the office on the 4th floor. He must have explained something to the other teachers, but even now, no teacher has come to him to ask questions. He didn't even know anything about it, thinking about it and knowing that Chu Chiu didn't tell the truth. Even if it is a fake reason, no one will expose it. He can easily let a key teacher leave with a single sentence. What is even more terrifying is that Chu Chiu himself has grown up with this kind of power. At the same time, he rarely abused the privileges conferred by his identity, and never behaved like a superior person. Accordingly, he did not know how to be merciful at all. Innocent and cruel. The crystal-clear air swoops down from the top of the tallest building in the city, and the green plants of the school are full of spring. It was announced that there will be a school festival in 2 weeks, each class will perform a program, and everything will be in charge of the literary committee and the class leader. To see if the lipstick is messed up, and put on the eye mask while reciting the words, very coquettish, very individual, Chao Deng once felt that if there is no system and tasks, he can be a straight man for her. Our class's program is a stage play. Fuyu, a beautiful girl with long legs, stood on the podium and made a final call, playing Assassination of Ladesai. It is rumored that in the Middle Ages, the ruler of the ancient kingdom, Luo Daxi, was beautiful as a girl, but he acted cruelly and killed countless people. Infiltrate the servants and assassinate the devilish emperor. In the middle of the battle with Ladasi, the hero was coerced and lured by hell, pretended to compromise, but always kept his heart, assassinated when Ladasi relaxed his vigilance, and succeeded in one fell swoop. The lover took his Yingji was compiled into fairy ballads, widely sung by bards on the liberated continent, and finally passed down to this day. He raised his eyebrows after reading the script. Can this pass the trial? Blood, tyranny, symbolism, it's all about pornography, gambling, and drugs. It's good to be fashionable, Fuyu answered graciously. What's the age? American college students are still acting in bed scenes after graduation. No problem, no problem. But the king and the hero feel very gay. That's right, Fuyu fluttered her long hair, and smiled with a little coquettish innocence. Take Luo Daxi from Chao Deng, let's draw lots to decide the other characters. The audience applauded unanimously, and Chao Deng retorted angrily, because she was born to be rebellious and refused to follow the crowd. The next second, when he saw Fuyu pull out the hero's character box with Chu Chiu's name written on it. Note, immediately nodded in agreement without saying a word. Playing the role of Gege with Yu, he, both public and private are great. The selected actors are ready to rent costumes, and the remaining students occupy various positions such as logistics props directors. The first rehearsal is scheduled for the afternoon art class and the following self-study. There are enough for nearly 2 hours. Chao Deng and Chu Chiu, the leading actors, each held a script in their hands, and with a smile on their faces, Chao Deng shoved the script to the classmates who were preparing the props. After making sure that Chu Chiu didn't look here, they ran over 2 or 3 times and said, "Can we watch it together? The script is not enough." The students preparing the props were silent. Ban Hua is really shameless, and what's more, she can't refuse at all. Chu Chiu glanced at him indifferently and handed over the script in his hand. "You don't see. Remember the first 5. It means that everything to be arranged today is in his mind." Patting Fuyu at the lamp and smiling, "Let's go from the back to the front." Under normal circumstances, people with weak willpower are more likely to be influenced by the characteristics that the system gives him. The system also says that this is just an ordinary world. In order to avoid frequent accidents, his attractive ability cannot be suppressed 1/3. Most people just have a very good impression of him. Fuyu thinks about it, and agrees to his proposal. "Now let's watch." Seeing that he brought back the script, Chu Chiu had a smile that was not a smile on his face, and he was not angry, but instead gestured towards the lamp to sit next to him. "Love is worth a star." Actually increased, Zhao Deng said with a pause. "Yu likes this style that circles around him?" "Approximate. The concept of love is too selfish and no girls will like it. So I helped him out of his misery." The speaker squinted his eyes with interest, and inadvertently glanced at the person here. Seeing his expression more or less inevitably breeds desire, the Tuhur rehearsal went very smoothly. Unfortunately, no matter how true it is, Chu Chiu's favored star didn't jump on it, but for Chao Deng, who came to this world and kept chasing him so hard that he wanted to kill him, the status quo really couldn't be better. "Where is your kindness and love?" The black-haired and black-eyed youth frowned slightly in front of the lamp. "When those people died, did you ever touch them? Do you feel anything like killing people?" The legendary tyrant Luo Daxi in later generations, with the skin of a white rose, sitting on the power of the world, alone did not have a lover's heart, no feeling. Naturally, there is no mercy. "What about me?" The deep black eyes were indifferent. He was clearly the one who was at a disadvantage, but he seemed more indestructible than anyone else. "Why don't you kill me?" With just one glance, anyone can understand that this young man will grow into a real king in the future. Zhao Deng's eyes flashed a strange color. He answered without hesitation, and blurted out like instinct. "Because I like you." The whole place was quiet, after a stalemate silence, accompanied by the strange eyes of the classmates. Chu Chiu's voice was cold. "Zhao Deng, the lines are wrong." "Sorry," he scratched his hair, "just lost my mind." "What are you thinking?" "Rare," Chu Chiu took the initiative to ask. He didn't answer, but his eyes flickered erratically. His face seemed to be a little red due to the light or some other reason. Even Chu Chiu couldn't help but admit that he really had the desire to seduce people. Capital, beautiful and beautiful as some kind of evil. "Love is worth 2 stars. Yes. No, nothing." Whisper towards the light. "Of course I'm thinking about how to max out your 10 stars, young master. After the midterm exam, the seats will be ranked according to their grades, and those with high scores will be given priority. Chu Chiu is the same as the back and sits firmly at the top of the grade. Personally, when he picks a seat, the overall situation in the classroom has been decided. He chose the 3rd seat in the 2nd row by the window, separated from Chu Chiu by a classmate and a corridor, and waited for Chu Chiu's classmate to be absent. Called the lamp by his name. As expected, Master Chu turned his head. Can you switch places with him? Smiling look. Hey! If it's troublesome, don't need it, he seemed to be understanding, and then seeing that Chu Chiu really didn't respond, he muttered, you really don't want to change. Next class. Really? Chao Deng looked at him excitedly, completely unconcealed with his happiness. I won't disturb your study after you come here, and I will never talk to you in class. Chu Chi is famous. The light spring breezes mixed with fragrant flowers, and the soft clouds on the roof seem to be within reach. The world is romantic and powerful. There is still a week before the school festival. Sister Fuyu is busy preparing the costumes. The big beauty is a perfectionist, as can be seen from her hair that has never been raised. Fuyu contacted the clothing rental. The store was originally rented out for filming, and the price was naturally higher than ordinary costumes. However, the family conditions of the students in number 7 middle school were good, and everyone was happy to have a better performance. The background of assassination of Ladesai is the Persian Middle Ages. It took Fuyu a lot of time to find clothes that fit the times in a pile of Chinese ancient clothes. Unaccustomedly, he tugged at the sleeves of the dress he had found, and all the hard work vanished in an instant. It's so worth it. Flower crowns, pale fingers inlaid with precious stones, all revealing beauty and evil. Seeing Chu Chiu walking over in a night costume, Fuyu only felt that she had no regrets in her life. Rehearse with costumes once, Chu Chi has a good memory, and he can memorize all the lines. What is against the sky is that he seems to memorize the lines of Chao Deng by the way. Whenever Chao Deng forgets the words or if it is wrong, Chu Chiu will correct it lightly. Ban Hua seems to be super happy about it, and his eyes are bright from beginning to end. Are you online tonight? Chao Deng and Chu Chiu changed out of costumes and returned them to Fuyu. Halfway through, the former seemed to ask the latter casually. What? If you are online, there is. As early as 4 days ago, Chu Chiu exchanged chat numbers with him on the night he changed positions. I have something to tell you. Can't say it now. I have a phobia of face-to-face communication. The other party looked at the lamp with a funny look, and said, so, will you be here tonight? You will be there. Because you already have 2 stars. No one can resist the charm of the lantern, he he he. In the real Vanity Fair, those who can live here are usually not the upstarts who have risen up in recent years, but the old dignitaries who have a solid background for many days at home. He lay down and rested around 10 o'clock in his homework. Today, in order to wait for someone's news, he was bored and sat until 11 o'clock. What would it be? He was only in his early 17th year. No matter how mature and calm he was just a teenager growing up in an ivory tower. Chao Deng was the kind of person he had never met before. He was still curious. Are you there? Chu Chiu press enter. In. Done your homework? Just finished. He lied. Chu Chiu didn't want the other party to know that he sat idle for an hour. Lend me to copy tomorrow. Just as he was about to reply, another message was immediately sent there. I like you. Thick and empty feelings. He hesitated for a moment, then typed, sorry. The other side looked at the 2 words towards the lamp, was slightly disappointed but threw the phone away without any surprise. No one can resist the charm of a lantern? Yes, for example, I feel that you are watching my every move at any time to satisfy my ulterior desire. Hat. This sound from the system is really full of ridicule, making Chao Deng a little embarrassed. He already likes me. The speaker pretends to be a lover, I just don't understand it yet, but in fact, the better way is to keep hinting for a while and wait for him to take the initiative. Confession. But you don't. That is the best way, not the fastest. He smiled and said, efficiency comes first, I always have to prove that you are right. It's not good for each other to drag on for too long. Then overturned. Compliance. The guy from the school also arrived, and he smiled and greeted Chu Chiu, morning. Morning. Chu Chiu looked at him noncommittally. That, homework. After receiving the exercise book handed over by the other party, he sat down towards the lamp and touched the pen. Thanks. Hook lips. Soon. In the afternoon physical education class, a group of people asked Chu Chiu to play ball as usual. The boys fished out basketballs from the last row of the classroom and walked down in groups. The teacher asked him to go to the office, and he had to let the others go first. After entering, he found that there was only one English teacher in the office where at least 2 or 3 teachers were supposed to sit. That was a male teacher surnamed Gu, young and handsome, very popular among students and colleagues of the opposite, but in his early 20s, he was able to teach at number 7 middle school, and he was still in class A where Chu Chiu was in this class. Naturally, there were many nepotisms. Seeing him come in, the English teacher had a grim look on his face. The light is coming, Teacher Gu greeted him, come here. He took a few steps forward, and suddenly saw a big OK stretch on the man's hand. Something flashed in his mind, and he turned towards the lamp calmly. Is there something wrong with Mr. Gu? It's something, it's a big thing. The man's face became more and more strange. He stared at him, his hands hurriedly rummaged in the drawer, and took out a dagger with a holster. Lamp, why didn't you accept my gift? You threw it in the trash that day, and it took me a long time to find it, which is really sad. Love is worth 3.5 stars, 5 stars for hatred that head. His hand was injured. Chu Chiu said that it was real, coagulated blood on the head and neck. Because I'm not as good looking. He smiled casually, and while the other party was fascinated and morbidly staring at him, he turned his head and ran to the door. Day, it's so perverted. How come I didn't see that this kind of monster was teaching me? Yeah, ha. The man who was left behind stared at his back obsessively. The dagger holster that blocked the dagger slammed on the ground. He opened his legs and chased at the fastest pace. No, you look so good, ha 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 ha, then give me your head, kill you. To the lamp, go to die, obediently die. Wow, this idiot is not slow. He took a step and then accelerated to the direction of the gymnasium. It had just rained and the ground was still wet. Roaring from exhaustion, the large gymnasium was in front of him. Some people have noticed the anomaly on their side and they are catching up. Chao Deng hopes that the English teacher will not be blocked so quickly, so he hastened his pace, and the people behind also tried their best to be angry. Wanting to catch him, he slammed open the door of the gymnasium towards the lamp. On the first floor basketball training ground, the tall boy was just about to take the pass from his teammate Chu Chi Fame. He turned his head and saw the anxious and frightened face of the man who rushed in. Save me! A neat trace was drawn in the air, and it accurately avoided the headlight and hit the ferocious man. Young Master Chu has 3 points. The gesture took him into his arms. Towards the light. Immediately, some boys surrounded him, joking, even if there was no brotherhood, Chu Chiu's identity was there. If someone was injured in front of everyone's eyes, there would never be a good outcome for him to sit idly by. Before the group of passionate students could make a move, the bodyguard who was chasing all the way behind him grabbed the man's dagger and threw him to the ground. The man let out a roar close to a beast, his blood-red eyes without blinking, he stared at the Chao Deng in Chu Chiu's arms. What's the matter with him? You like me too much, come on. You must stabilize the confident and indifferent expression on your face. Mr. Chu can eat this set, there are many such people, let alone their appearance, I can't even remember the name. They are nothing to Lao Tzu, only you are special, are you happy? Zhao Deng Chulai's face turned pale with fear, but her eyes were very focused. Anyway, I only like you. The person hugging him was stunned. Chu Chiu's eyes flashed with a hint of hesitation, and he finally remembered something and let go. You. The favorability rating is 2.5 stars. No one can resist. Shut up. Wow, Brother Tong is getting harder and harder to get along with. Thank you. After waiting for a few seconds to confirm that the system ignored him, Chao Deng said to Chu Chiu, if you don't help, there may be trouble. Do you want to show me your favor? The boy who has always been deserted is helpless. Stop making trouble. Okay, Chao Deng smiled, it's up to you. The school festival is approaching, the spring rain that has been lingering for many days finally has a meaning to stop. Chu Chiu maintained the relationship before his confession, obviously nothing the eldest young master wanted to do happened. Honor. Chao Deng rushed back to his seat happily, and immediately called Chu Chiu who was solving the problem in the next second. Chao Deng didn't know that his friend who used to play well with him, no matter how anxious he was. Interrupting when solving problems, after all, no one wants to try to be left to the side until the master has finished writing. When facing the light, he can't maintain the ability to think in the eyes and tone that this person expects. Simply stop writing. What's wrong? Fuyu said that there is a bonus of 3,000 yuan for the first performance in this class. If we get it, let's play. Good. Are you doing the test again? Zhao Deng looked at his desk. By the way, where do you want to take the test? Not yet, maybe D or L. Tisk, Chao Deng rarely showed a thoughtful look on his face. It's so difficult, but it's all right with your words. How about you? And NBSP, and NBSP, and NBSP, and NBSP, D is large or L, he couldn't care about Chu's surprise. Although he was laughing, he said slowly and firmly, even if it is very difficult, I don't want to be forgotten. You can only go to your future. I will take you to the future, take risks, rejoice in enmity, and become who you really should be. So come and like me. The night fell, and the dim stardust fell in the eyes of passers-by. A huge stage was set up in the wide high-roofed auditorium early, and the scarlet velvet curtain swayed down. The long-awaited school festival finally arrived. After the famous host finished reading the opening remarks, the hostess announced the first program, this is the best era and the worst era. The machete can point to justice and blood, and poetry can also create hardy courage. A drama, taking the ancient Persian country as the battlefield and implementing the heroic road of the loyal soul, assassination of Ladesai. Damn, burn! The lantern was eagerly waiting for the curtain to rise. Yu Guang glanced at the front row of Chu Chiu's pale face, and the narration of Sister Fuyu was as clear as running water. In the legends of later generations and the fairy tales, the ruler of the largest country in ancient Persia was a young emperor who was as beautiful as a girl but bloodthirsty. The brave hero set foot on the journey to change the country, and spent 7 days and nights fighting with the emperor. In the end, the assassination succeeded. His kindness prevented him from killing the killer. As punishment he imprisoned the king forever on a tower that did not see the sunday. Our story begins with the young hero saying goodbye to his southern lover, leaving his hometown and taking risks for love. The curtain was pulled up, and in the eyes of the audience there appeared a man and a woman who were saying goodbye. The boy in the white knight uniform was bowing his head slightly and telling the girl in front of him that he swore to her that he would return as a splendid dress, otherwise never return. President Chu is so handsome. Chao Deng, who was on standby in the background, said to Fuyu who was reading white, I feel like his sister across from him is going to faint. Don't get dizzy for a while, Fuyu calmly pushed the microphone hanging from her ear. Most of the students in the class felt that Chu Chiu and Chao Deng were very basic, especially the latter often behaved I can't wait to pick on the former, if you are dizzy, we will sit in a gay drama. So you know that Lao Tzu is playing gay drama. Hey! Raise your hand towards the light. They quickly clapped their hands, walked towards the lamp and walked to the place where they were during the drill. The rest of the students quickly prepared. In a prosperous ancient capital thousands of miles away from the hometown of heroes, the tyrannical king Ladesai rules the whole kingdom, and every night he must sleep on the knees of a beauty, and wake up the next day, then he will kill the beauty who accompanies him a good night's sleep, and drink her blood as his wake-up call. Lord Desai, who is lazy and smiling in the center, wears beads and is famous, and indeed has the beauty praised in ancient books. Fuyue sees the audience's sluggish reaction, and her eyes unconsciously flow with obsession and possession desire, knowing that there is no more suitable person than facing the lamp. Not only the appearance, but also because Ladasi must arouse the audience's strong love, the love-induced disgust or tolerance for his cruel behavior, in order to truly bring the audience into the play middle. The hero arrived in the capital and mixed in among the beauties. When he saw Luo Daxi, he could hardly believe that the person in front of him was full of debts. The young man walking from the stage was tall and straight, slender and neat, like some kind of vigorous plant. Chu Chiu looked at the luxuriously dressed king not far away. Lying under his feet was blood-stained the deceased daughter, with red splashes on her bare feet like snow, and the soft color of her toenails and fingernails are like newborn rose petals, extremely fragile. That is beauty that should not be allowed. People have no desire to continue to live, just want to drag him to hell. Lord Asai flaunted his power in front of heroes, and he let him watch young beauties being slaughtered at will. The desire for destruction, the dark desire that he has never had before, almost made him terrified. Chu Chiu's life was smooth, and everything was at his fingertips, making him equally interested in everything. Only facing lights. He had to stay away from this accident as much as possible. When he was very young, Chu Chiu realized that he had a desire for control that was different from ordinary people. His grandfather once said that this kind of nature was destined to make him hold a high position, and it was also easy to bringing endless troubles, facing the existence that is difficult to hold in your hands, either simply walk away or have it completely. He walked away, but the other party didn't know it was sticking up. The angry brave man skillfully dealt with the king, and finally found a good opportunity to assassinate Luo Daxi in one fell swoop. Oh, oh 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 oh, that's why I want a gay drama. Malicious is worth 1.5 stars. Wow, why? Although I'm really happy to have a little star again, but fuck, I don't really understand. Chu Chiu glanced over the fake blood on the opponent's slender ankle, and the darkness in his heart grew wildly to an unprecedented thickness. In order to appease the grievances of the commoners, the new king imprisoned him on a tower that did not see the light of day. The huge stage is endless, one person in the center of the field is submerged in the sea of flowers and brilliance, eminent as the emperor, the other person is trapped in the endless darkness, and you can vaguely see a thin white man with black iron chains. Ankle, heavy shackles dragged to the ground, everyone can imagine how strong the shackles that locked the devil could not be broken. This scene is like a revelation, an invisible prophecy, and a shadowy consonance. After 100 years, the hero of the past has disappeared, people opened the tower, and they were amazed to find that Ladasi, who had been dead for many years, still maintained the vivid and fresh appearance of a young girl. His feet have deep visible wounds due to violent struggles, and he seems to have been atonement for his evil deeds all his life, trying to escape from prison all his life, but unable to beg God's forgiveness. The curtain was lowered, the actors quickly packed up the stage props and retreated, frowning at the lamp. Originally Fuyue said that the key of the anklet was where the lock was placed, but now he can't find it anywhere. I had to get off the stage first, the heavy objects on my feet were jingling, and I felt really ashamed. Fuyue saw him come down like this, she could guess what happened without even thinking about it. A slender hand sticks out from behind, the index finger is hooked at will, and the keyring is just in the other's hand. Help you. Zhao Deng subconsciously wanted to say no, and immediately remembered his current role position, and immediately stretched out his calf. Thank you Yu Keek, fortunately, I didn't step on the red carpet all the way. Chu Chiu didn't say a word, one hand slowly covered the sole of his foot, the skin of the tentacles was smooth and cold, the silky delicate touch touched people's hearts, and the feet facing the lamp were the size of a normal boy. But the bones and flesh are extremely beautiful, and it seems that they can be crushed with a little force. Such a pair of feet and its owner are destined to be kept in the deep pavilion. When he took off the chain lightly, Chu Chiu seemed to bump into each other inadvertently. A small piece of bone protruding from the ankle. Phew! Let's go first. Phew, who is both the host and in charge of the class's recitation of White, made a comparison, and saw that Chao Deng was walking with Chu Chiu, and her eyes swept over the two who left. She accidentally saw Chao Deng. The conspicuous red on the right ankle is like a petal and a mark. The level of the programs after that was uneven. Except for a dance called Fish every year, the overall effect of the other programs was not as good as the stage play of Class A. Wait for the host to announce that after the dance tied for second place with another singing program, the students of Class A had already started cheering in private. First prize, Class A of Senior 3, Assassination of Ladasi. Yet, thanks to Banhua, thanks to Banco, the face value supports the sky. Yes, yes. The classmate slapped the back of the head towards the lamp with a slap. Let's be together with Banhua and Banco, the beauty will explode on the earth. Okay, Chao Deng was very shameless, and hung on Chu Chiu's body. You, I like you. Chu Chiu didn't push away, and let him come over without moving. Oh. So hot. Young Master Chu, kiss quickly, if it's a man, kiss him. The whole incident reached an unprecedented climax after Chu Chiu clicked his tongue and pinched Chao Deng's chin, and patted his face a little obscenely. A serious face calmed them down. By the way, how about 3,000 yuan? The internet cafes are open in the dark, Xiao Chu will bring the lights, we will bring the girls. Dream, Fuyue came down from the stage wearing a dress, and the ravine on her chest made a group of boys stunned. How about the barbecue? As Yan Go, Chao Deng has always been a loyal fan of Sister Fuyue, agree. No comments. Boil. Take a look. Then decided to have a barbecue and a movie. Fuyue ordered a boy who usually played around and asked him to find a place. The time is set after the next monthly exam. It happens that there is a monthly vacation. If the month comes, most girls want to go back and change their clothes. The tables were put together so that everyone could sit together. The dishes were not cooked, and some boys had already opened a drink and went to smoke. When Chu Chiu came, he saw Chao Deng and asked others for it. What? He smiled towards the lamp, and through the white smoke, his smile was bright and ambiguous. Chu Chiu felt as if his heart was trembling slightly. He took the unburned cigarette in Chao Deng's hand, and just found out that there was no lighter. The person directly opposite took a slender cigarette and put it in his mouth. Holding this one, the cigarette rubbed, and the spark jumped. He noticed that there was a light-colored tear mole on the left eyelid of Chao Deng, which was usually not obvious, and could only be glimpsed when he lowered his head. Aren't you hungry? Hungry? Then you. He's a cat's tongue, said a classmate who often played with Chu Chiu with a smile. It will be uncomfortable to eat hot food, you have to wait until it gets colder. System scoff. What attitude? I'm 1,000,000 times cuter than you. Not only is it easy to get scalded, but when the child can't perceive that he is different, the parents may think that the eating speed is slower than others because the child is deliberately doing something wrong, and a large group of people go out to play, never able to maintain a normal eating rate. People with cat tongues are usually more sensitive and suspicious. I remember. Nodded earnestly towards the lamp, took a wooden plate again, picked food for himself, and at the same time chilled another piece of food on the wooden plate. Waiting for about the same time, he pushed the wooden plate in the direction of Chu Chiu. Here. Midnight-like pupils flickered for a moment. Chu Chiu saw the man and said with a smile, I eat too fast, just if you slow down, I will also slow down. After eating we go to drink and play. 3 stars for favorability, congratulations to the little cutie. No need for him to look for him, the classmates almost came to drink in turn, some of them even pretentiously toasted cigarettes first and then toasted. Sister Fuyue changed her past gentle and glamorous image and rushed over with a beer bottle. She shook her phone to Chu Chiu, and on the screen, 2 beautiful-faced teenagers were getting together to borrow fire. The white mist of cigarettes lingered, and the picture was charming and beautiful. To secretly film such a private thing. Nice shot. You drink fast, take pictures of yours, drink slowly, face the light mine. Chu Chiu silently opened another bottle of beer on the table, and Fuyu only had half of the bottle in her hand. Seeing that, she wanted to change it, but Chu Chiu shook his head to indicate no need. The result is self-evident, the reputation of my brother is the best in the world. Get the photo. Chu Chiu saved it in the encrypted album. Fuyu bumped into Kaya Deng's arms. My lamp. My month. You can't want this kind of man. He locks your photos before entering the door. He will definitely be domineering in the future. It's exciting to think about it. Especially seeing Chu Chiu's indifferent appearance, it's even more exciting. 2 large cabinets were piled up. In the end, everyone unanimously passed the Chronicles of Narnia I. The bright and dark pictures cast light and shadow on the face of the lamp, and the eyelashes that looked like a girl were as thick as crow feathers. Chu Chiu realized that he had watched him longer than the movie, and his mind flashed across the caged beauty who appeared in costume while performing in the stage play, but died pitifully on the tower. I'm going to the bathroom. Zhao Deng responded, inexplicably felt that Chu Chiu's voice was much lower than usual, as if he was suppressing something. His hand dragged the photo to enlarge, his eyes focused on the peach blossom face, the man's eyes drooped slightly, and he was as beautiful as hell. He imagined his tear moles, which could be left with a little effort, the skin with pinch marks, thin ankles, straight and long legs, snow-white buttocks, flexible waist. He imagined this familiar face full of spring love, the delicate lips being tortured by himself, the other the desire to erect in my hand is getting harder and harder. Toward the light, after all, she couldn't hold back, the boy in the cubicle whispered the name he wanted to possess. The favorability rating is 3.5 stars. Wow, great, but why? The system used practical actions to tell him what a villain is, and his beautiful and extravagant voice was full of ridicule. Because you are cute. It was already early morning when I came out of the movie theater, and there were a lot of students in the sparsely populated streets, walking in 2s and 3s, talking about the exciting part of the movie or the latest gossip, frowning at the lamp. He usually rarely goes out late at night, although my home is not far from the movie theater. I feel troublesome when I think about what I might encounter on the road. Send you. He was stunned for a while, then turned around and said briskly, okay. Walk or call. Walking, took 2 steps back towards the lamp and beside him. It takes a long time. The time is longer, which naturally means that they can get along for a longer time. Chu Chiu seems to be very used to his courtship and flirtation from time to time. He pressed the phone and walked out of the door first. Every few steps before the split, students said goodbye to Chao Deng. Many of them expressed their willingness to accompany him home, and they refused with a smile one by one, and when no one was there, he picked up Chu Chiu, leaned lazily on his shoulders. Chu Chiu endured him for most of the street, approached his house, let go of the lamp and stood still, his bright eyes staring at the boy half a meter away. That's it, thank you, but, you go back by yourself. Chu Chiu gave him a non-committal look. Let's take a taxi, I'll wait for you to take a taxi before leaving. No, the phone just flew a rest. After answering it, Chu Chiu hummed and hung up the phone. He turned his head and said, I just called the driver. Okay. Zhao Deng squinted his eyes, his tone was affectionate and casual. Do you want to hear the confession? Forget it. The man seemed to kick the pavement a little irritably, and then looked up at him with only a smile on his face. I'm leaving, see you tomorrow. Zhao Deng pretended to work the questions, wandering in the sea of questions, unable to extricate himself, trying his best to create the illusion that he wanted to go to college with classmate Chu, but the number of times he took the initiative to talk to him plummeted. Time is running out. Oh, so scary. Yet? The soul flies away. Yet? But as a lover, you can. The love scene master wants to beat you and cry, waiting for the jerk. What are you talking about? Oh no, you can't fall. As the last mock exam was approaching, the students dragged out all the books in the classroom. Chu Chiu looked up and caught a glimpse of Chao Deng helping Yu to move the desk. The tall, thin boys and the girls were talking to each other, and both of them were unrealistically beautiful. When the chandelier came down after moving the desk, she saw her holding a large stack of textbooks in her arms, and immediately pressed her hippie face on the top textbook. Fuyu had no choice but to accept it. Tight arms bent down, smiled and scolded him a few words. Hate is worth 1 star. With his soul-stealing appearance, no matter how shallow his expression is, it is terrifying, making people want to have all of him from the bottom of their hearts. Chu Chiu's 18th birthday was on the day of the mock exam. May was drawing to a close. The invited students in the grade almost regarded this birthday celebration as a carnival before the end of the world. Chu Chiu's mother spoiled her son. He was so spoiled that he originally wanted to take him back to the capital for a big banquet, but ordered someone to prepare the invitation card 3 months in advance, and finally settled on a paper Chinese-style invitation inlaid with jade. Only from here, you can see the profound power of his family. Usually, when people are involved in politics, they will not show too much extravagance. But his mother has been in business for generations, since 100 years ago the famous Shangzhou in the whole country, and the Chu family was originally a real high-ranking and important, and they would not be talked about if they dared to splurge under the imperial city. Chu Chiu rejected the banquet that was supposed to move the quartet with a phone call. The son is preparing for the college entrance examination. No matter how hard he prepares, he is willing to make way for his future. After reluctantly cutting off the phone, his mother immediately marked a series of zeros on the son's card. Tell him to invite his classmates to play together when he has time. Deng deng deng, are you going to Chu Xiao's birthday? Zhao Deng gently patted Sister Fuyu's head, guess. Fuyu pressed his hand down, I can't guess. Without waiting for him to speak, Fuyu said again, you two are too complicated, some time ago you were too good to roll the sheets, but now you are cold and indifferent, then again, he invited you, right? Are you going to give him a present? I don't know, I feel like he's lacking everything. It's great, the beautiful girl with long legs gave him a radiant smile, since you didn't expect to give yourself, I'll give you to him. Thanks. You are such a good girl who takes both outer and inner beauty into consideration. Zhao Deng nodded happily, okay, it's time to invite you to drink. Unexpectedly, Fuyu did what she said, and Chu Chiu forced him to wear all kinds of cute headbands on his birthday, and even tried to stuff him into a huge gift box as tall as one person, facing the lamp. He desperately refused. He originally thought that the eldest young master would take everyone to a super high-end place, but he took everyone to the self-service hot pot, including his former buddies who came from the imperial city. Zheng Xiaozhou, who played the best with him, has already in his early 20s, he hung up a book in the capital E, and followed the old man in his family to run business. He had seen countless people of all shapes and sizes, and his temperament was naturally hotter than this group of teenagers. There was still a trace of predatory desire in his lacquered eyes. Chu Chiu, who knew him well, tilted his head. He knew that this friend was not taboo between men and women. The love history is too scumbag to bear to look directly, but he is good enough to risk his life for the buddy he considers. As long as he doesn't play with him, Chu Chiu doesn't mind that the other party continues to mutilate the world. The little boat. His voice was light, but his eyes were arrogant. Zheng Xiaozhou, who grew up with him, naturally understood what he meant, especially when he saw Chu Chiu let the person he looked at sit next to him afterwards. Zheng Xiaozhou raised his eyebrows in surprise. The dead boy finally moved. In this case, no matter how much the object makes him want to take him to bed, he will not touch it. Happy birthday, Yu. He pulled out the chair toward the lamp. You don't mind if you don't arrive at the ceremony, don't you? Just come. He nods. The handsome boy next to Chu Chiu who was drinking water couldn't hold back and sprayed it out. His handsome face turned red, looked at him suspiciously. Chu Chiu kicked Zhang Xiaozhou under the table. One kick made him put away the nonsense he was about to blurt out. No, it's all right. Zhang Xiaozhou endured the pain and the desire to laugh. I can't drink it. This classmate, what's your name? Towards the light. Hey, nice name, nice. Hey thanks, what's your name? Zhang Xiaozhou. The boy answered, and gave him a deeply regretful look. 1. People sit spacious, can take the microphone in turn, and it is also convenient to visit each other. Chao Deng, Chu Chiu, Zhang Xiaozhou and 2 classmates are in the same room. They shake their dice and play with wine. A girl giggled and entered their box. She is a very beautiful girl, with a great body. The girl was wearing a white dress and held a bunch of lush purple hyacinths in her hands. Zhang Xiaozhou was the first to react and snapped his fingers. The classmate behind the girl smiled and said, "She has something to say to Xiao Chu for a long time. Today I mustered up my courage on purpose." "That, I like you." The girl seemed a little nervous, her voice was stumbling, but her face was very serious. "This seems too sudden, maybe you don't have an impression of me at all, but graduating soon, I still hope you can know that every time you play basketball, you watch it. I like it very much." Poke poke pain poke pain speak human. "I think this girl is a little cute." Chao Deng's voice is painful. "I just ask one question, is brother you straight?" "It should be." The system malicious reminder, the soul is scattered. Zhao Deng accepts the reality, and then thinks that the system is bound to his soul, sacrifice. "Sorry." Chu Chiu shook his head, he didn't say any more. The girl saw tears in her eyes, and after responding, she walked out with the flower in her hand, and the classmate who brought her scratched her hair and didn't say anything. Too good to leave the box. After being embarrassed for a while, the atmosphere returned to normal. After a while, a call came to his mobile phone, and the room was roaring love even if you die. He pushed the door towards the light and went out to answer. It turned out that the fraudulent property reminded him to transfer the money and pay the fee. He hung up the phone and was about to walk back when he saw someone coming out of the door. Zhang Xiaozhou smiled at him, with an ambiguous attitude. "Classmate, I heard that you and our Chu Xiao have a very unusual relationship. Chu Chiu will not tell others that he has confessed to him, and no third person knows about it. It is more likely that this person just listened to a few jokes to make fun." "I saw it." Zhang Xiaozhou saw his expression, pressed the cigarette in his hand against the wall, and stepped on the falling cigarette butt. He wants to protect himself too much, is too selfish. If someone hadn't taken the initiative to show affection, he wouldn't have taken that step first. In other words, he would only start approaching someone after he was sure he liked him. "Have you confessed?" Opening his mouth towards the lamp, Zhang Xiaozhou motioned him not to speak. "I have no objection, really. He is still willing to approach you now, which shows that you are a matter of time, but I want to tell you something story." Zhang Xiaozhou is talking about him and Chu Chiu when they were young. At that time, they had a good time with a little boy named Chuan. Chu Chiu raised a wolf cub, which was a real wolf. The state-protected animal brought back by his cousin on a mission lied that it was a dog. The little boy surnamed Chuan accidentally found out and threatened Chu Chiu to lend him the wolf cub for a week, otherwise the truth would be revealed and the latter would lose forever the creature with whom he was becoming more and more intimate. Think about it now, what can he do? Even if he reports to the Protection Bureau, the Chu family can easily suppress it and do things with hands. Zhang Xiaozhou grinned, "But guess what, dear Yu, what have you done?" Zhao Deng directly brought out Fu's delusion. "I can't guess." Zhang Xiaozhou was silent for a moment, then smiled maliciously, his eyes bright as if they would glow. He took a gun, without hesitation, he shot the boy in the right leg. "His guns are all the loaded real thing. I don't know when he learned to open the insurance, and my dear reputation doesn't allow me to call someone." Later, the person who snooped on his pet became a half-crippled man, and the pain would not stop when it rained. He and I found a consistent reason to throw it to the parents who came to the door, and nothing happened. You want to remind me to stay away from him? Asked the lamp tentatively. No, I want to remind you, don't think about leaving. Zheng Xiaozhou stared at the Chowdang without hesitation, the desire in his eyes was fleeting. Since you have provoked such a person, you must prepare for the best of the worst. The girl who confessed was mixed with a group of young people dressed in fashion, and felt that someone was following him. After Yu Guang glanced at who it was, he took a step towards the lamp and walked towards the girl. Hi! He said, smiled at the girl, and the compelling color spread from his face. When he intentionally attracts a person, the suppression of his ability will be minimized. Sure enough, the girl's expression becoming obsessed, approached her towards the lamp, breathing slowly intertwined with each other. Can you say a few words alone? Love is worth 3 stars. Naturally, the other party stayed and noticed that the man behind him stopped in his footsteps, and the smile on the face of the lamp deepened. What's your name? Tang, Chuan Lan. Okay, remember. Love is worth 4 stars. You are very good looking, and you seem to be a good person. Turning towards Deng Huanfeng, in this case, can you stop approaching Chu Chiu in the future? The girl who was originally happy opened her eyes wide, because I like him too. Chao Deng's eyes curled up, his smile was innocent and seductive, and his eyes were as beautiful as the person in the painting. If he suddenly sees him, I will be very sad for the girl that appears. Chuan Lan, promise me, okay? Don't. Tang Chuanlan shook his head frantically without warning. Since you've praised me, stay with me, don't mind him. I don't allow you like him. In the end, the darkness in her eyes was like thick ink that couldn't be melted. 3 stars for hatred. Chao Deng stood quietly in place, without dodging. As expected, when the girl was about to pounce on him, someone took him back and took him into his arms. The tip of the nose was filled with the clean breath of that person alone, the forearm hooked on the waist was white and slender. The girl opposite stopped, her eyes were filled with horror. He heard Chu Chiu's unique, clear, and slender low voice. That's it, his icy eyes swept over the girl lightly. You should go. The avenues in the early morning are silent, occasionally you can see couples strolling, young people who have just come out of the casino to indulge the night, gather in 2s and 3s. The long moon in this city is slanting west above the head, accompanied by the warm yellow mist. The street lights will continue until midnight. Chu Chiu took him home as he did last time, and Zhao Deng joked that the birthday star could not bear it, and when the end of the road was approaching, the latter's relaxed voice suddenly stopped. Honor. As beautiful as a neat and tall tree, that girl, originally confessed to you, but somehow it became like this. He touched his nose a little distressedly. It's strange, right? Chu Chiu remained silent, and continued towards the lamp. However, I will not change my mind, because it is unlikely that a person like me will appear again, and I will be liked by the guy who is on the side for no reason. I'm pretty confident about that. He and Chu Chiu looked at each other and flashed at the lamp. So, do you really not consider me? I used to think that I would never want to be with anyone, but when I find myself always seeing you first among a bunch of people, things don't seem so good. Let it be like that. I came to this world because of you, so in the world, I like you the most. As soon as he finished speaking, the boy on the opposite side closed his eyes and said his name with a sigh. Towards the light. Kissed the corner of his eye. It's not good, but forced me before the college entrance examination. Chu Chiu's hand became stronger, and the pain made him narrow his eyes. For the sake of your desire to work hard, you plan to wait. I didn't expect you to be so afraid of being distracted. Even if it was just a kiss, accompanied by the other party's tongue sliding across the upper jaw and entangled with each other, it was so comfortable that Chao Deng was numb all over, and was almost forced to collapse by the strong pleasure in his mind. Cool. Damn, Can we have more in-depth exchanges in the future? Just touch the eldest young master if you want to cry, and I don't dare to think about it. No matter what, let's have fun. Love is worth 4.5 stars. Feeling that the arm resting on his chest was unnaturally shrinking, he lowered his head and found that Chao Deng's face was as charming as he had imagined in the past. Biting the other person's lower lip maliciously, unexpectedly, the beauty in his arms could not help shaking. The confused look on his face and the reaction of clinging to a certain part of his own made Chu Chiu tick with surprise and joy lip. So sensitive. Just kissing can make the other party so emotional. Just think about it and know how wonderful it will feel to press him on the bed and constantly violate. Stupid. What? Glancing at him in confusion. I gave you a chance. If you regret it, will you hate me? Thinking of the peach blossom debt carried by the other party, and laughing and rejecting others again and again, Chu Chiu covered her soft lips again, and the other hand reached into the hem of the clothes restlessly. Along the smooth white the greasy skin was touched, and a few young people in the distance who witnessed this fragrant and exciting scene boldly whistled. Of course you like freedom, but your freedom makes me miserable. You said that. Even if I deprive me of the right to escape, you have to be obedient. In exchange, I will do my best to be nice and nice to you. Instead of what you were born with, thousands of pets. Ding 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 ding. Discussions continued. Just as he stepped into the corridor towards the lamp, someone from the same examination room behind him eagerly grabbed him and asked for his contact information, and walked forward silently with his head lowered towards the lamp. Impatiently, he beat people up, and when Chu Chiu, who was looking for Chao Deng, saw this, he patted the other party's shoulder, and punched him without saying a word. Mom's brother, this is the college entrance examination room. But this feeling of being reckless and playing again. President Chu is on me. Thank you, you. Sure enough. Just one soul fragment can have such an outstanding appearance. The original owner of all the soul films is probably breathtaking. Even if you want to see the beauty, you have to do the task well, he. How did you do? Well, I think, I may not be able to get into D or L, the score is too high. Chao Deng smiled as if embarrassed. It doesn't matter if we don't study together. Can go. The man looked over attentively, his midnight pupils were about to overflow with emotion. We will be in the same school. It's not what you say you can. Zhao Deng bent his eyes carelessly, and the fancy curvature of the corners of his lips was as straight as a small hook. Chu Chiu's eyes were dark, and he couldn't help but go down in the crowd and hold his hand to confirm this people belong to themselves, will not be separated. It's fine, it's up to you. Removing the word no is the correct answer, Mr. The meal was set at a C restaurant in the city. Everyone in Class A sang Those Flowers on the Deck. Many students were in tears, and the class director didn't mind looking old. The honest boys almost all learned to smoke in private. Seeing them get together with cigarettes in their mouths and taking pictures with their middle fingers, they didn't stop them from taking pictures. Fuyu cried the worst, hugging everyone one by one. Face tears. Don't cry, Chao Deng patted her back comfortingly. In the future, you can meet on the phone, and you'll be on call, okay? If you cry again, your makeup will change. Ugly, I'll push you away. Woo 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 wah wah wah. Lamp Fuyu was out of breath, and continued to coax toward the lamp. Don't cry, it's like you have a crush on me, I understand, you just want to take the opportunity to hug me. Fuyu immediately pushed him away and rolled into Chu Chiu's arms. Keep in touch. Chu Chiu learned to pat her head in the same way she patted her head towards the lamp. Fuyu raised her face, she really did make up, her eyeliner turned into eyeshadow, and her eyeshadow turned into blush. Even so, she still hiccuped, staying calm. Banko you? Be nice to Banhua. Hey! Who the fuck, can't see your nonsense. Fuyu wiped her mouth. Anyway, really. Before she finished speaking, she bumped into another girl next to her. hugged each other and continued to wipe tears. Ah, so cute! Zhao Deng's gaze moved away from Fuyu, and Chu Chiu next to him collided with his gaze, and the flames burned brightly in his pupils. He is still young, full of vitality like a lake full of water. Thinking that what he has done is likely to destroy the other's upward vitality, Chao Deng frowned unconsciously. Feeling a bitch? Finally grown up. Believe it or not, after crying, everyone spent the carnival night apart. Some people went to the KTV that was previously reserved. Student couples watched movies hand in hand. Fuyu danced with several other girls, played the good boy, invited him to spend the night with Chu Chiu Internet Cafe. Before he could speak, Chu Chiu shook his head and refused. I have something to do with Chao Deng, you guys can play together tomorrow. Okay, have fun. Young Master Chu has to bring people to be alone and chic, yes, yes. Good look, it is inevitable not to feel curious. Before leaving, Yu Guang glanced at Sister Fuyu. She had already taken out a small mirror to touch up her makeup. The right half of her face was perfect for a banquet, and the left half was horrible to see. Look back. The taxi finally stopped at the luxurious and tall villa area of Rujiatu. Even at night, the most expensive land in this city is still as dazzling as a gem. After the car stopped, Chu Chiu pressed the password. He opened the door, and when he pressed the light on the hall, he turned toward the lamp and found that the huge villa was empty and no one was there. I asked the housekeeper to leave. Chu Chiu changed his shoes, motioning for Chao Deng to change to another pair of slippers that had already been set up. My parents are not here. Meaning it's just the two of us. Chao Deng smiled and said, are you trying to do something bad? Chu Chiu was silent, and after a while, he suddenly smiled at him. The handsome face of the young man was real and illusory under the light. He rarely smiled, and the expression on his face was always light. Once he laughed, his usually deserted brows and eyes almost had the beauty of melting snow, and he blushes when he sees Chao Deng. Why do you laugh so well? Do you know that Lao Zi is curvy? Don't just laugh without talking, there are some reserved programs to show. Okay, Chu Chiu continued to smile. He lowered his voice and gently brushed away the broken hair in front of Chao Deng's forehead. Then I will teach you how to people, okay? Good. Come on. I get it, I'm ready. 1. Star. Hatred. Meaning. Value. Seeing that he was silent, Chu Chiu continued to rub his face on Chao Deng's face. I thought about what I would do on graduation day, but I never said it, for fear that you would be scared away. No, Chao Deng happily approached him. You, come on, I like you very much. I like you too. Chu Chiu's kiss fell. If you can talk like this tomorrow morning, even if you cry and beg me, I won't stop. Covering the duvet, he slowly opened his eyes with a light snort towards the lamp, and the pain from his body instantly brought him back to his senses. Morning. I feel that something in my body that does not belong to me is getting bigger and bigger, and I want to lift my foot and kick people with a pale face. When I move my leg, the soreness and the terrible dense traces make he had to give up this move, and the man was pushed back on the bed again, and Chu Chiu controlled him condescendingly. Enough is enough, you. Chao Deng accompanies him and laughs, but it is a big taboo in life to show this expression in front of the other party when he wakes up early in the morning. Can't you do it? And it rose to full value, and the hate value dropped to half a star. Can love be made? Can? So depraved. You just care less about hatred. Am I that kind of person? The boy who felt the pressure on him pushed hard, facing the lamp expressionlessly. I am that kind of person. No more woo 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 woo. If you want to break up, Deng Deng should hug with hatred. In the more than 10 days waiting for the results, Chu Chiu took him to the capital to spend the time happily, watching all kinds of pomp and circumstance, and showing endless tricks to these young people standing at the top of power. He was greatly amazed. During the day, Chu Chiu went shopping with him from shopping streets to ancient buildings. At night, the bar, banquet, and game hall were in the line at 3 o'clock. Please, the most innocent time, Chu Chiu took him to the campus of D University and L University. The two famous universities are in the capital. The man asked him which he liked more. D is big, said casually to the lamp, thinking that it is impossible to pass the test anyway. There is a C in it, which is good. Chu Chiu agreed flatly. They played for a long time. After returning to the original city, the results can be checked the next day. Chao Deng and Chu Chiu separated, packed up in their own home and checked the time, not in a hurry, calling up the web page and seeing the results above. His originally lazy expression changed, and the iced soda beside the computer was accidentally knocked over to the ground by Chow Lamp. He was admitted to the Ace Major of D University. Burying his head into his neck, the boy's voice was clear and deep, and before he knew it, he had grown into a real man. We will not be apart. When he didn't realize it, Chu Chiu entered his house and used the key he gave. Are you happy? Of course, very happy. The more you like me now, the more you will hate me when you are dumped, and you will probably earn a lot of stars soon. What did you do? It's not good. Chao Deng frowned slightly. I remember I said that you don't have to go to a school. Where do you want to go then? Chu Chiu was not annoyed. He sat down on the chair calmly, his dark eyes locked on the figure opposite him, but the words he said were lingering and domineering. If you want to go to another school, I will accompany you, but you are not allowed to go anywhere but me. Can you change the admission result? Zhao Deng's tone was sarcastic. Chu Chiu looked at him quietly, and after a long time, he lowered his head in frustration. Forget it, do whatever you want. He seems to be just dissatisfied with his interference in his life. More frequently. Although it is set by the system, Chao Deng's parents are real, made a special trip back to China to visit him. Because his parents were at home, Chao Deng naturally reduced contact with Chu Chiu, and when he received a call from the latter's home asking him to go to the army for a summer vacation, Chao Deng opened his mouth in surprise. Totally enclosed. Okay. Towards the light. He called his name. He wanted to tell the other party that the reason why he was going to the military camp was because his family found out that he was dating a boy, and his father, in a rage, decided to send Chu Chiu to the most difficult specialties in China. The troops forced him to bow his head, and his mother sat next to him and kept crying while waiting for him to call. For a family like us, it's good to find an ordinary girl. Mom doesn't expect anything else from you, but, well known. He deliberately exposed those flaws. He knew that the more rational approach was to wait until he could tell the truth in the Chu family before revealing his own orientation. I really love this guy. He hopes his family will accept the morning light. Take a step back, Chu Chiu also doesn't think that he is still a little kid who follows the rules. It was the first time he held a gun many years ago, the first time he witnessed the power of power, the first time understanding the vastness and power of the world begins, and he knows what kind of person he is destined to be. He will be the one making the rules. In the end, Chu Chiu said nothing, said goodbye as usual and hung up the phone. Facing his parents who had loved him since childhood, Chu Chiu left the chaotic study with no expression. Like a huge gap torn by a hurricane, he is more eager than those lunatics to break his legs, rip off his bones, and deprive each other of everything. He also rejoiced countless times that the sinful beauty belongs to him. Fortunately, he can keep the person he likes by his side without sharp claws. The late spring is exhausted in the scent of summer, and the long dusk and dawn follow. Love is worth 5 stars, hatred is worth half a star. What are you going to do now? Following the character you gave, hung up the phone toward the lamp, become the lovely Baichi. Are you going to the street? No, I'm going to be a quick-tempered person. Yu will definitely hate me when she sees me getting together with others. Chao Deng sighed, too cruel. In order to make up for the damage he suffered, he strongly requested a sleep. The system sneered, go to bed with 5-star hatred? Yet. Do you want to be touched and cry and come? Damn, so heavy. Why? Chao Deng's parents did not stay at home for too long. After learning about their son's profession and recent living conditions, the couple gave him exotic minerals from all over the world, teeth of rare animals, under the changing colors of prehistoric bird feathers, all kinds of things that ordinary people can't think of in a lifetime, and a bunch of zeros on their credit cards. They simply patted their bags and prepared to leave. Before walking away, Chao Deng's mother was very sad that he hadn't started falling in love yet. He couldn't understand why his son was nowhere to be found, and once suspected that Chao Deng had some ulterior hobbies. It doesn't matter if it's not a little girl. Life without love is incomplete. Chao Deng's father finally pulled his wife out the door, and smiled helplessly at his son. Mom also likes it, good-looking boy. You're right, Dad. That's right, the plane is going to be late. Mother Chao Deng grabbed 4 suitcases, her thin arms were stronger than adult men. Goodbye Xiao Deng. You must find true love. Bye. Xiao Deng said goodbye to them in confusion. If there are such parents, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Chu Chiu's phone call comes every Saturday night as scheduled, and he is often talking about Chu Chiu's listening, and Chao Deng later checked. The special forces he went to were not the sons of officials. The noisy experience field is actually a reserve battalion affiliated to the military department. The rare exchange program in China enables many students who graduate from there to further study in the American Delta and the Russian Alpha Force. Every year, there are recruits who cannot bear the intensive training. Running away or even dying, it is very strange for the Chu family to send the only heir there. There is still a month, and we will meet after 3 more phone calls. Chao Deng's grinning voice came from the other end. Chu Chiu unconsciously curled his lips slightly and lined up with him. His dormitory teammate stared at him like hell. Have you grown taller? Longer? Is the figure super good? More muscle than before? Chu Chiu was originally a teenager who loved sports. In addition, he was tall and slender, with a straight skeleton, and the muscles that grew along with it were smooth and beautiful. After imagining it, Chao Deng felt that it was really exciting, super great. Come back soon, I want to see you. Well, dear, I want to see you too. When the time came, Chu Chiu hung up the phone, and the roommate next to him put him on his shoulder. Young Master Chu, girlfriend. Chu Chiu's identity was specially warned. No matter how violent his father was, he would never have the heart to really hurt his son. Sent back to the Chu family from the concentration camp. The roommates who slept with him originally despised the prince who came down from the capital, but found that the other party had just undertaken the same high-intensity training as them, and had never experienced fighting. He learned how to use firearms faster than anyone else, and never complained of bitterness in field combat. His attitude could not help but gradually change, especially in Chu Chiu, the black instructor who dared to single out a battalion. After the grass tick was picked out from the flesh with a fire knife, he admired him so much that he became a buddy since then. He is handsome, rich, powerful, courageous, and capable. It is said that he is the provincial champion of this year's college entrance examination. His roommate couldn't help but slap his mouth. Your girlfriend must be beautiful and sticky. Are you? He's very beautiful. It was only a month later, thinking that it was almost like high school years ago, Chu Chiu's eyes flashed an imperceptible tenderness. It should be regarded as sticking to me. Chu Chiu glanced at him and walked forward quietly. The roommate was interested. Hey, I said Chu Xiao, do you have any photos? I'll be envious of my brother, said here. The roommate said twice, have you ever done it? You looked so big in the last shower. Seeing that he didn't speak, the roommate patted him on the shoulder with interest. She must be very happy. The rain in September overlaps with the sun, and the thick shadows of the vegetation cast a sultry signal of the scorching sun. The schools across the country gradually open their doors to welcome a new batch of students into another chapter of their lives. On the land with a century-old history of Daeun, The handsome young man as the representative of the freshmen was speaking in front of everyone in the school. On a sunny day like today, it is easy to give rise to hope, but even if you encounter a cloudy day, encounter danger and pain, you must carry a heavy burden and move forward bravely. Listen to yourself over the years, fight for what you think is important, and be the person you always want to be. The classmates and the teacher talked for a few words, and Chu Chiu quickly walked to the position of the person he was thinking of. It is very easy to find, wherever that person goes, it is like being illuminated by brilliance, accompanied by turmoil and abnormal love from beginning to end, and sure enough, he saw Chao Denggao in the crowd, tall and thin back. One after another, he opened his mouth, and just wanted to call the other party's name, but he heard the familiar voice of Risi yet Si and chuckled, "You like me so much?" Chu Chiu stopped. Standing in front of the lantern was a tall and handsome boy, with amber eyes shining like stars at the moment, endless obsession and love lingering in it. He hurriedly pulled the hand of the lantern. The tender touch and the pulse of the blood flowing under the muscles made him want to lick this jade-like arm a little bit, only to see its owner carelessly saying to him, "I'll think about it, but don't bother me until then." The boy opened his eyes in disbelief, and then nodded with great joy, "Okay, just give me the answer after you think about it." As if afraid that he would not agree, the boy added, "I am true, I love you very much." "No, I love you." Zhao Deng seemed to sense something, and the strong line of sight behind him made him turn his head slightly. Even if the distance was far away, Chu Chiu could still notice that the curve of the corner of his lips changed slightly. The original lazy voice was also floating like fear, "Don't be long-winded, let's go." He saw himself. Chu Chiu's face was expressionless. The boy reluctantly left in obedience, and after a few minutes, he came forward. He remembered blinking involuntarily when he was nervous at the lamp. Thick eyelashes and butterflies vibrating, he kept shaking like wings, knowing that these few minutes were like torment for him, but he couldn't help but feel joy in his heart. Towards the light. With this kind of emptiness, although he is beautiful, he is not feminine. He is a full-fledged oriental beauty. "Do you miss me? Do you miss me? Do you miss me?" Chao Deng jumped on him. The young boy's warm body made people deeply appreciate the beauty and sweetness. Chu Chiu wrapped around his waist fascinatedly and took him into his arms. Even if he did bad things, he could still smile brilliantly at himself. Sure enough, with the purgatory-like beautiful skin, how could the soul in it be clean? Hate is worth 2 stars. Ah! Shui Guang lit up, and Chao Deng put on Chu Chiu's shoulder in a chaotic manner, "Leave here, okay?" Chu Chiu, who knew nothing about his lover, knew what was going on. He raised his eyebrows, picked up the Chao Deng obediently and walked away from the playground. After a month of military training, even an adult boy's the weight was also very easy for him, and when he kicked the apartment door open with the light in his arms, and slipped his fingers through the crevices of his buttocks, he realized that the other party was soaking wet. "Seems to be more sensitive than the last time we met." Chu Chiu's eyes darkened, and he didn't say any more to press on the other side. After the end, Chu Chiu took him to the bathroom to clean up. Because of the special nature of the chandelier, they had agreed to move out together to rent an apartment on campus. With scars on his body, he would rather go to squeeze the floor to sleep and eat compressed cans that taste the same as chewing wax, rather than bowing his head and coming back to be the glorious heir of the Chu family. His disappointment and annoyance extended his time in the barracks, which caused him to rent it just in time. "As soon as I got to the apartment, I ran to give a speech." His hand stroked Kaelin's left eye. Now the latter's eyelids are closed, the pale tear mole is clearly visible. The reddish corner of the eye makes him look like he has just shed tears. He is indeed crying. Chu Chiu finally touched his tear mole gently, stood up and made a phone call. "Hello? Xiao Zhou, yes, help me find a person," called Chao Deng. "Yes, my classmate, check his file and family background since childhood, his parents also check clearly. He rarely irritated and said dirty words. Fuck. Isn't my relationship network suppressed by the old man? You as soon as possible." Don't pretend when you wake up. I want to pretend, I can't provoke him. Zhao Deng recalled the whole process, only felt cool from head to toe, and sighed from the heart, I love and hate. The system was silent for a moment. Aren't you afraid? Afraid, afraid of death. Opened his eyes to the lamp, pretended to be weak and called out to Chu Chiu, he has always made me feel very special. You say that the average person wants to divide the body with 5-star hatred, what does he want to do? What does he want? The boy that Chu Chiu wanted to see that day never appeared in D University again, because he couldn't remember the boy's name at all, and it was impossible to find him to confirm it. Chu Chiu became stable after being busy for a while. After coming down, he no longer runs outside the school every day. He seems to be much more relaxed. Previously, Chu Chiu had always used another card, and the registrant said Zheng Xiaozhou. After that time passed, his new bank card was marked with his own name. A shiver rolled off the bed. Although I knew that Chu Chiu confessed to his parents, it was scary to see the parents so soon. Will there be a scene on the tea table where my mother turned her face and gave him 10 million to get him out of the way? Excited. I have never seen so much money in my life, and I like this kind of plot a bit. The place where Chu Chi is famous is a well-known chain coffee shop in China. The consumption is high, and it is not far from the school. Looking at himself, and looking back along his eyes, he saw a woman with an elegant temperament. She is not young, but she is still very attractive. This charm comes from good self-cultivation and self-confidence from the inside out. With a small smile, her delicate face is very beautiful. I seem to understand why Chi Yu would rather have a quarrel with his father than break up with him. She saw Zhao Deng sit down uncomfortably, and smiled, what a beautiful child. Mom. Chu Chiu had no choice but to remind his mother. Hello, Auntie. Whisper towards the light. Love is worth 3 stars. If it's this child, I can accept it. The beautiful woman looked up and down at the lamp, raised the porcelain cup with some satisfaction, and her skin was as white as Sai Shuet. You should let you guys do things for young people. Make up your own mind. But it's also possible to overdo it and let things develop in an uncontrollable direction. Let's go to the military camp, the military camp is fine. Speaking of which, a large part of the reason is that his mother doted on Chu Chiu too much, to the point that as long as his son likes it, he will fight for him. She strongly demanded to take her son home. The reason why she stayed for so long was entirely because he and his father were fighting each other. After chatting, with the 3.5 favorability value, while Chu Chiu went to the bathroom, the beautiful woman whispered to him. I like you very much, but there is something I want you to promise me. You said. Climb up the pole naturally towards the light, and try to be good. You and Chiu chose each other, we have all seen his determination, and that's why I'm here. She paused, her apricot eyes glittering. You are a beloved people from the time you came in, everyone is looking at you, and those who have an intersection with you will subconsciously treat you well. So far, I hope you and Chiu will come to the end. The soft lips that are unique to women are opened and closed. She is clearly smiling, but what she says makes people shudder. The little lamp is too beautiful. As his mother, I am a little uneasy, although it is difficult to speak like this. But in order not to make my son sad, I will always follow his will. If you betray him, you won't let the Chu family be suppressed for a lifetime, right? Seeing Chu Chiu approaching, she smiled without haze. But Chiu likes you so much, I must not have the heart to make you suffer. Damn, goddess! The gentleness and the ruthlessness can be switched freely, the words are simple and clear, and the murderous intention is hidden, and finally I understand where Chu Chiu's momentum comes from. Of course. Zhao Deng also smiled hypocritically. The days when Jie Daoshan's power is concentrated on him is getting closer and closer, and when the time comes to dump him, he will definitely be hunted down to the end. It's over. Being deeply loved by people like Chu Chiu who are strong and have real power, I can't say it is lucky or unfortunate, but it must be unfortunate to dump his father. The lovely Baichi suddenly became frightened. Dark night climbs to the sky, dim stardust shuttles across the silver moon and the top of the dark city. The high-end club will never be short of pleasure-seeking handsome men and women and the glamorous aroma of champagne bubbles. Young Master Chu, hiccup, don't go. Well, it's hard for your family to relax, since you're here, just play more. The man said. There was someone on the side, and he was also a handsome playboy. Yet, we haven't seen you for a few years, and you kid still treats us as outsiders? Just go back. Although he drank a lot of wine, Chu Chiu's dark black eyes are still as pale as water. His pupil color is actually rare, the pure black pupils that are rare among Asians, look affectionate and ruthless. The wine girl smiled and stopped the guest. She was gentle, bold but unpretentious. Those present more or less knew this amazing identity. Zheng Xiaozhou, who was hanging out with the beautiful young man below him, interrupted while working hard, "Stupid! Look at how sensual you are. There are people in Xiao Chu's family, who the is studying with your bunch of single dogs and staying home all night. Isn't it?" Hearing this, the boy who had pulled the man was more than half sober, and he spoke quickly, "Young Master Chu, you are amazing, so quickly trapped yourself. Then what kind of ecstasy soup did the girl give you?" "Go, go, go, and go." Zheng Xiaozhou finally dived a few times, and after venting, groping for his shirt and so on, he said to Chu Chiu who opened the door ignoring anyone, "Wait, I with you." The boy under him hooked his waist with his legs in dissatisfaction, but the guy who called him walked out of the door without raising his head. After a few steps, he finally stopped Chu Chiu. "The mice haven't seen you for a few years. Sing, you are the best, don't show your face," he said as he buckled his belt. "Is your home okay? Mr. Chu is willing to let go? Auntie promises. All solved." "Serve." Zheng Xiaozhou was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly laughed wildly. "I'm really convinced, boss, you actually persuaded your parents to marry a male daughter-in-law and go back, as expected. You have been the best since childhood." "Great." They walked to the lobby. The welcoming beauty in the modified cheongsam and the waitress in the bunny dress bowed their heads and bowed. Zheng Xiaozhou motioned to the underground parking lot. His car was there, and Zheng Xiaozhou continued to ramble when the car started. "But you are really not confident or not trusting your partner. Your innocence is like a piece of paper. Is there any need to investigate?" Xiaozhou, Chu Chiu interrupted him. "The little boy you went on before has eyes a bit like a lantern. The skin also looks like, I really want to lick him to death." Zheng Xiaozhou was frank, without the slightest discomfort of being caught. "What's the matter? Please ask me to check him. As soon as I see that face, I'll be like Zongzi. But don't worry, your people, even if I die, I won't move." Chu Chiu nodded. There was silence in the car for a while, and he suddenly said, "Who would be particularly sensitive? You're sick or trained?" The smoker rolled down the window, with his arms out, slouching at the steering wheel with one hand. "Either you have been artificially transformed, or you are a natural beauty. You know, this kind of people is popular. $1,000, but what do you mean by asking this? Wait, don't tell me." Seeing Chu Chiu's acquiescence, Zheng Xiaozhou took a sharp breath. "You are so lucky," he muttered. "You look like a fairy, and you have a good body. Brother Chu, the winner in life. Good luck." Thinking of the smile at the lantern, the rich and addictive colors have become the main theme of memory. Those people shouted his name, and he never stopped for anyone. Now he can use his means remove the senior who confessed to him on the school day, but there are thousands of people like this, and one day, he may also fly away on his own. The dark pupils darkened, and the dark color disappeared in a flash. Chu Chiu closed his eyes. Towards the light. The autumn is high and wide, the edges of the trees are golden in the slight coolness, the traces of withering spread throughout the city, and the sunlight gradually dissolves in the overlapping clouds. Delai's eyes were particularly prominent. It was obviously cool autumn. He was still wearing a thin black short shirt, and his exposed forearms were strong and powerful. Passing girls looked at this handsome young man with excitement. "I'm coming." Even though there was a lot of people and the noisy street sounds, he still heard the voice of his lover from a distance. Chu Chiu subconsciously followed the source of the sound and saw that the person who had been waiting for an hour was in a hurry. He hurriedly broke free from the other embrace, and the boy who was holding him had a high nose bridge, dark eyebrows, and a rare dark golden hair. Although he was handsome and compelling, it was a completely unfamiliar face. The boy persevered and dragged the lantern into the street, as if he wanted to kiss him very much, but was pushed and rejected by the latter. Chu Chiu quietly watched the man straighten his clothes and pressed the phone. A few seconds later, the special call alert rang. "Hi, arrived." His voice was terribly hoarse, but the speaker on the other end had the same tone as usual, and through the cold machinery, it was reminiscent of the gentle curvature of the corners of his mouth. "Where are you?" "It's right across from you." Seeing the fear and hesitation flashing across the face of the lamp, Chu Chiu lowered his voice, as if he was teasing some kind of pitiful little animal. "Quick, come on." "Are you?" Odali's gaze towards Deng slowly swept across her. "Does it look good?" Chu Chiu asked casually. "Good looking." Zhao Deng glanced at his flat face, and immediately hooked his shoulder. "You are the best, you look good in everything, my boyfriend is so handsome that he has no friends." Chu Chiu's facial contours softened, patted him and wrapped his arm. "Be honest." "If I'm being honest, you will be destroyed with this world." He nodded in agreement with a smile. "When I went home that night and took a shower towards the lamp, I put my mobile phone in the living room, and the note was S number dialed in." Chu Chiu thought for a while, and then pressed the answer slowly. "Baby. He is being by me." Regardless of the other party's reaction, Chu Chiu's voice was calm. "If you want to save your life, just get away." After a while, his face was pale and he immediately closed the bathroom door unconsciously, and the sound of the lock was very clear in the silent room. "Either you come out obediently, or I will open it with the key for 3 seconds. Chu Chiu's expression remained unchanged, and he threw his mobile phone into the trash can and walked to the bathroom step by step. 3, 2 Click. A reptile-like cold inorganic gaze, the burning thing in it can almost burn him. 4 stars for hate. "I feel like I'm going to die, Brother Tong. Don't you like it? The system does not smile, your love and hate value. I'm afraid I'll die." To finish, such a strong feeling is only 4 stars. The system doesn't speak anymore, it's really difficult to get along with. Is there an explanation? Chu Chiu's fingers danced softly across his side face, neck, and collarbone, seeing him trembling helplessly, his desire for conquest and jealousy magnified to a level that he had never felt before. "The point of passing, the whole world likes me the most, and will never change his mind. The face hurts so much. Don't touch it, bastard, I'll give you a shot." "Liar. No, no. Damn. You are really strange." His tone seemed to be helpless and doting, but the movements of his hands were extremely cruel. The ear said slowly, "Don't want to be bullied by me crazy, just tell all the bad things you have done so far." "I did nothing. I have been saving the world." "Adults are complicated, stinky bastard, Touching his head, the unnatural pleasure proved that the other party's hatred has not dissipated. Zhao Deng stood up. You. Chu Chiu responded with a single syllable. "Do you have anything to say to me? What do you want to hear? Break up." His eyelids were slightly droopy, his eyelashes were clear and long, and the warm and clean morning light fell on his young face, and he was still talking to him exactly as he was a year ago, like a person who is as charming as a newborn son. His heart pounded. "It's just what you saw, and I said this more than once last night. So, break up. You seem to be very good at pretending to be cute." He. The man's hand stopped, his expression non-committal. Chu Chiu said softly, "You know my answer better than anyone else." No one can easily leave after enjoying your love. No one can say no to the person who accompanies him to outline laughter, calculate the future again and again on scratch paper, and cross the most confusing and gorgeous ocean of time. The most fundamental thing is that even if you don't have such an attractive appearance, you told me that you liked it, I held your hand, and yearned for the new life you gave from beginning to end. One step, okay? I beg you, don't force me. Wow woo 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 woo, don't do this. It was clearly a threat that was neither light nor serious, but it was more powerful than anything else, and the boy who was holding him was indeed hurt by him. I'm such a guilty man, Judging from the last rubbing of his head, there is no feeling. Chu Chiu's anger has disappeared. He has a really high tolerance for himself. Chao Deng was rummaging in the room with nothing to do. From Chu Chiu's professional textbook, he turned to a file. The object of investigation was Chao Yinhong. The name seems a little familiar. He immediately dismantled the file, only to find that the life of the owner of the file was listed here in detail, ranging from the photocopy of the certificate, to the position where he worked and the school he attended in the past. Everything. Just wondering what Chu Chiu did with such a thing, he turned to the last page, and the attached photo made his fingers stop in the air. The person in this photo is his father. Chao Deng carefully arranged the paper and put it back. Chu Chiu has always been careful, and repeatedly confirmed that he did not put it in the wrong order. He closed the other party's professional textbook. After that, he rummaged through the boxes and found his mother's information and his own information one after another. The difference was that he noticed that someone had rewritten his name with a pen next to his name column, which was neat and tidy. The elegant font was left beside the printed words, and he could almost imagine how Chu Chiu looked when he lowered his head and wrote his name. I was investigated. Sure enough, the eldest young master is not a simple and harmless guy. The sound of the key turning is like a siren. Looking at the mess of the room that he tore out to the lamp dumbfounded, this is not enough time for him to restore the room to its original state. Wow, wiped, destroyed. Hey! Someone looked at the lantern squatting in a pile of books from behind, and saw what he was holding. Chu Chiu's pupil retraction instantly returned to its original state. You want to leave me, I want to control you. His voice was low and clear, and slowly fell into the room. It's fair. Don't make any more mistakes. Chu Chiu saw him silent, with unconscious love and pity in his tone. You are good, I will do my best to treat you well. What if you don't behave well? Of course I can only send you to hell. Her gorgeous, graceful figure is tightly wrapped in a dark red embroidered dress, and her attractive slender legs are wearing metallic stiletto heels. Anyone can see how carefully she dresses up before her appointment. How much influence does Peach News have on your career? That's fine, let everyone know you're mine. She smiled sweetly, girlish shyness and perverse desire in her expression, as if immersed in some kind of a beautiful and secret fantasy. As long as there is a morning light, I don't want anything, and I don't care about anything. Even so, it still can't stop the entertainment reporters from gradually becoming obsessed with him. When the first person pressed the shutter on him, everyone was crazy to shoot him like a dream figure. He raised his hand to block the dazzling spotlight. Someone couldn't help hooking his collar. The beautiful mixed-race actress waved in disgust and stretched out to touch his arm, not caring that her nails were being ripped off due to excessive force. Broken in half, crimson blood dripped on the expensive plush carpet. When Chu Chiu clicked on the phone, the current affairs news in the push bar just refreshed. He glanced at the page casually, his eyes like the night could not be taken away from the picture of the Peach News. He remembered the face of this woman, last week in the movie plaza. Facing towards Deng looked at her face, and the subtle interest in her eyes made her feel unhappy from the bottom of her heart, and she was even more familiar with the soul-sucking beauty next to her. The first sister of the top domestic entertainment company. In just a few days, after he became interested, he could easily have the other party's wholeheartedness. His eyes, a moment later, a tear fell silently down his white fingers. The city lights up all night, the drizzle that has just stopped migrates with dust, the flow of people is endless, and the autumn wind gently shuttles between the gaps of the buildings in the evening. He bowed his head slightly towards the light, wearing an inconspicuous dark blue cap, and walked hurriedly to the boarding gate of the airport. He had no luggage, and the security check went very smoothly. Empty, leaning on the comfortable and spacious seat, he called the system somewhat unaccustomed. Relaxed? I understand, so it's even more strange. Chow Deng smiled and ordered a glass of white water to the flight attendant, watching with interest the other person's blushing cheeks. Hurriedly poured water for him. Other characters are how is it like? Apathy is the most normal one. There is a faint smile in the system's voice. Hey, are you kidding me? Zhao Deng opened his eyes slightly in surprise, and before he could say a word, the broadcast in the captain's room rang without warning. The female voice on the other end was very pleasant, but what she said made all the passengers nervous. Dear passengers, due to some special reasons, this A303 air flight has to land at the nearest airport. Anyone must accept the identity check before leaving. The company will provide another passenger plane at the landing site, and take passengers with correct identities to their destination. We apologize for the trouble and loss caused to you. On the ground of the airport in the nearest city, case investigators in regular police uniforms began to check the identity certificates of the passengers who came down one by one. The black-haired, black-eyed young man who had been silent for a while jumped onto the passenger plane and gestured to the police officers who wanted to follow. The man immediately stopped in place and did not move. From the first class to the business class, he paused for a second, opened the door, and the beauty who was huddled in the first row seat looked at him with a pale face, and quickly lowered his head again. Chu Chiu stepped forward, squatted down, and raised his face gently. Go home. Such a careful movement, looking at him with a very gentle face, only one person's figure in the wet black pupils, such an abnormal tenderness, for those who know his character well, only felt shudder. He kept shaking his head as if he was out of control at the lamp. Chu Chiu's hand slowly touched his lips along his chin, rubbed it hard, blood flowed down his fingertips. Seeing this confusing picture, the face showed pain, and the dark pupils seemed to be darkened by the light or other reasons. The ID card and card are not at home. You want to run away? That woman, you like good-looking people, right? If you are interested, you will catch up. After all, you do have the capital to attract anyone. Do you like me or my face? Or because you can live a comfortable and worry-free life with me, why did you come to talk to me in the first place? It's a pity. Facing the lamp, Chu Chiu stood up, grabbed the hair on the back of his head and forced the other side to look up. I don't mind whether you like me because of power, money, or pleasure. I can give you everything. I am willing to support you for a lifetime, but you go to see other people and want to leave me. His other hand rubbed the damaged delicate lips, his fingers reached into his mouth and rubbed his red tongue. Seeing that the expression of the person below him became more and more dazed, Chu Chiu continued without expression. When I was photographed with the little star before, you guessed that I would know, so I was so scared, right? Zhao Deng's body gradually stiffened. Can you guess what I want to do to you? Guess. Chu Chiu poked his fingers hard, whimpered at the lamp, and his body arched violently, then his eyes were lost, and he couldn't help shedding tears. Guess right, I'll be a little late. Kill you. Fuck you, Mom. This can be called the most normal, and what is even more abnormal is why he thinks that everything is happening now. Prick. Excited. What? It is enough to recall 3 days and 3 nights. He was carried off the passenger plane by Chu Chiu. The uncontrollable malice on the latter's body made his fingers so soft that he could not move. It had reached this point, and Chu Chiu's malicious value towards him still remained. At 4.5 stars, he's done horribly bad things, and this guy still doesn't want to hate him completely. Accurately speaking, from the point of view of the love value that has not dropped a little bit since then, the reason for hatred is because of too much caring. Opening the door made of black iron, he turned a blind eye to the same sex in his master's arms. This villa is built on a flat and open green grass. Except for a huge oak tree behind the villa, there is nothing else. Seeing the lamp staring at the tree, Chu Chiu lowered his eyes and looked at him said, "The house is my 17th birthday present. I wanted to wait for the holiday and climb the tree with you to watch the sun go down." He opened his mouth and pursed his lips again, but he didn't say anything. The person in his arms has always been very quiet, until he took the other party to the largest room on the second floor. Chao Deng struggled unbelievably. Chu Chiu let his legs weak and fell on the thick carpet. His dark eyes were like a calm lake. Don't. Zhao Leng tried hard to stand up, reluctantly leaned against the wall to support himself, the fear on his face no longer concealed. Following his gaze, he leaned against the bed in the spacious and empty bedroom, with a golden cage just big enough for one person. The columns glowed with dazzling, scalp-tingling eerie colors. He turned his head towards the lamp and wanted to run out of the door. After leaving Chu Chiu, his body was more than normal. He stumbled and rushed out of the door, but when he went downstairs, he moved too fast and twisted his foot. Unable to move half a step, he remembered the terrible fate he would face next. He reached out and put his hand on the stairs to climb forward, but was grabbed from behind, half dragged and half hugged and brought back to the room. "Don't! Let me go!" Chao Deng's hand rested on the firm and white chest of the other party. "Please! Please, Chu Chiu! Don't do this, shall we start over? I won't do that again, don't lock me in, please, let me go. Damn it!" Chu Chiu patted his face and licked his lips affectionately, but without hesitation he dropped the door lock. Zhao Deng pushed him away and huddled in the corner, his voice almost collapsed. "Please don't like me anymore, okay? Please, Chu Chiu, let's break up, go away, don't want." He was dragged by his legs, pulled out from a small and safe place, and brought him little by little to the golden birdcage. The young man who suppressed him thought he was too tossing, so he pulled the dark leather belt aside and tied his hands firmly together with the skillful technique he learned in the military camp. Struggling so hard, the hand may be broken. From entering this room, Chu Chiu said the first sentence lightly. "Oh, abolish it, abolish it." In line with the principle that the show should be carried out on the premise of not hurting oneself, Chao Deng immediately stopped the big movement, and on the surface moved without giving up. "Better to kill." Hearing Chu Chiu's next words, Chao Deng's expression froze. "My reputation is humming. It has changed, it has become too good. What's more is the hatred value or 4.5 stars. The terrifying sound of the metal door opening rubbed his scalp, and he was forcibly pulled into the cage by Chu Chiu. The sound of the lock was clear and credible, just enough to stretch out his calf, without waiting for him to look at the cage. Inside, Chu Chiu reached out and pulled out his sprained right leg. After taking off his shoes, he inspected Chao Deng's wound. The green and black patches on the white and tender skin were particularly shocking, showing a morbid beauty. Like a helpless and pitiful beauty in a cage at the moment. Zhao Deng no longer struggled and shouted, but looked at him slightly indifferently. Chu Chiu stared at his ink-like quiet eyebrows across the prison bar, slowly curled the corners of his lips, and smiled in a low voice. Good looking." Zhao Deng tried hard to maintain a cold expression on his face. Chu Chiu saw that he was silent, and suddenly raised his calf, the smooth skin, exquisite bones, and the soft color of the toenails like delicate flower buds. In ancient times, such a person would probably be locked in a house forever, unable to see the sun all his life, until he was brought into the grave by a big man. "Zhao Deng," Chu Chiu said with a smile, "will you be buried with me in the future? Have you had enough?" The man rolled his eyes wearily. "Do you want to lock me up for life?" Can't get an answer. Looking at the person opposite him incomprehensible to the lamp, Chu Chiu's eyelashes are very long and dense, probably inherited from his elegant and beautiful mother. When he blinks a little, the upper side flows the ray of light can drown people, which is why Chao Deng liked his appearance in the first place. Let you out, you will harm others again. Chu Chiu's fingers seemed to be loose, but Chao Deng couldn't lift his foot to break free. You are too willful. I didn't think about taking responsibility at all. You should know how many people have been ruined by this face. I don't have. It also includes me. Chu Chiu put away his smile. The emotion in his eyes was unpredictable, and the grey fog covered the sky. You ruined me. Of course I only ruin you. You will meet people. Let you take advantage of it, and from now on, all you can see is me. He bowed his head and kissed the place where Chao Deng was injured. The tide-like powerful and endless malice made him unable to restrain himself from biting his lower lip, waiting for Chu Chiu to stick out his tongue to lick his wound. The lights were really frightened. Don't lick. Don't touch me. Don't be like this, in a place like this. You have broken bones all over your body, that's fine. Drenched in a cold sweat on the back of the lamp spine, what are you talking about? I am willing to support you for the rest of my life. Chu Chiu said, and licked his calf again, until he released it as if he couldn't stand it, and then let go of his ankle. His eyes and voice were full of sweet and exclusive desire. Raise till you die.